Lucille Ball's final truth, the heartbreaking confession she couldn't hide anymore.
But near the
For
end,
more than half a century,
the laughter
Lucille
faded,
Ball lit up the
replaced
world
by
with a
silence,
laugh no one could
regret,
imitate.
and a single
She was a
moment
red-headed
that
force of
revealed
nature,
everything she had
fearless,
been hiding.
unpredictable, and
When
brilliant
she
at
sat
making
down for
even
what would
ordinary
become her
moments
final
unforgettable.
interview, it
But
wasn't the
what the world
fiery
didn't see was
redhead
the woman
audiences
behind the
remembered.
genius. The woman
It was a
who,
woman
near the end of her
carrying
life,
the weight of a
sat down
lifetime,
for one last interview
success,
and allowed a
heartbreak,
lifetime of heartbreak,
and the feeling
triumph,
of being
and
left
silence to
behind
spill
by the
through
world
cracks.
she helped build.
By the late 1980s,
What she said that day
Lucille
left
Ball was
everyone
still
in the
one of
room
Hollywood's
and
most
millions
treasured
watching
legends.
in tears.
Her name
The
drew
lonely
respect.
queen of comedy.
Her legacy defined television itself.
By
But
1989,
fame, as she had
Lucille
learned again
Ball's
and again,
name was still
a poor
legendary.
shield against loneliness.
But her life no longer felt that
And by
way.
1989,
The woman who once
the loneliness
commanded
had grown
44
louder than
million
the
viewers
laughter.
every Monday night
Her
was
Beverly
living
Hills
in
home,
quiet
once alive
isolation.
with parties,
Her Beverly
rehearsals,
Hills
and
mansion,
friends,
once
felt like
full
a
of
museum
laughter
of
and
memories.
guests, had grown
The jokes
cold.
that once echoed in the hallways
Most of her
had
old
faded to
friends
whispers.
were gone. Her
Many of
children,
her old
Lucy and
colleagues were
Desi
gone.
Jr., lived far
Her
away
children
and
lived far
rarely
away,
visited.
each busy with
And though
their
her
own
second
lives.
husband, Gary Morton,
And
stayed
although
by
her
her
second
side,
husband,
he
Gary
often
Morton,
spoke of the
stayed
sadness
close and
that
tried
lingered
to
in
keep her
the air,
spirits up,
the kind
even
that
he could
fame
feel
and
the
fortune
heaviness
could
surrounding
never
her.
erase.
Lucille Ball,
had been
the woman
America's
who changed
sweetheart,
the face of
a
comedy,
symbol of
felt
joy.
forgotten by the
But
very
behind
industry
closed
she had helped
doors,
build.
she was haunted by the past.
The painful fall after
The
a
end of
lifetime
life with
success.
Lucy in
Her
1986
1986
had crushed
comeback
her spirit.
series, Life
She
with
had
Lucy,
come out of
was
retirement
supposed to remind
hoping
the
to
world
remind
that
the
she still
world
had
that
the
she
magic.
still had it.
Instead, it became a
the
quiet
show was
heartbreak.
canceled after only 8
Viewers
episodes.
didn't connect.
For the first time in her
Critics were
career,
merciless.
audiences didn't laugh.
The show was canceled
Critics
after
called
just
it
8
a
episodes.
painful farewell.
For the first
Friends
time in
said
her long
Lucy
career,
took it personally,
Lucille felt
that she
something
stayed
she
up
had
at
never
night
felt
rereading
before.
the reviews,
Rejection she
wondering
couldn't
if the
outwork,
magic was
outrun,
gone
or
forever.
laugh away.
It was more than just
Friends
a failed
said they saw
show.
her sitting
It
alone
was a
at night,
sign of something
reading and
deeper.
rereading negative
That time
reviews,
had moved
whispering
on,
to herself,
and
maybe
Hollywood
it's
had
gone.
forgotten its queen.
Maybe all of it is gone.
The comedians she
But
once
the truth was
inspired
more
now
painful
ruled
than a failed
television,
show.
but few ever called to check
The
in.
world had changed.
The woman who once broke barriers for
Television had
female
changed.
performers now sat alone,
The young comedians
watching
she once
reruns of
inspired
I Love
were now the
Lucy in
faces
her
of
living
Hollywood.
room. Every so
And very
often
few
she'd
remembered
laugh
to call the
softly,
woman who had
then
opened
wipe
the door
a
for
tear
them.
away.
So
Physically,
she spent her evenings
she was
watching
fading too.
reruns of I Love Lucy,
Years of smoking
smiling
had
at the woman
damaged
she
her
used
lungs,
to be, wiping
and
away
by
tears for the woman she
1988,
had become.
heart trouble began to
Physically,
show.
she was fading,
Still, she
too.
refused to admit weakness.
Years of smoking had taken a
"I'm
toll.
fine," she'd
Her
insist
heart
to
was
her
weakening.
nurse, even when she could
Yet
barely
she
walk to the
refused to show
kitchen.
fear.
When friends urged
She
her to
refused
slow
to slow
down,
down.
she replied,
Whenever doctors
"I don't know
or
how to
friends
stop."
urged her to rest, her
That
answer never
stubbornness
changed.
had built her career.
I don't know how to
But
stop.
now, it was
It
all
was
she
the
had
truth.
left. The early
Comedy had saved
heartbreaks
her
that
too many
shaped her.
times for her to know how to live without it.
Lucille Desiree
The
Ball
childhood
was
that
born
shaped
on
a
August
legend.
6, 1911,
Lucille's sense of
in
humor was born out
Jamestown,
of
New
pain
York,
long before
a
she became a
small-town
star.
girl who would one day rule
She entered the
Hollywood.
world on August 6,
But her childhood was anything
1911,
but
a
joyful.
small-town girl from
When
Jamestown,
she was only
New
3
York.
years old, tragedy
And
struck.
before she even
Her
understood
father,
the
Henry
word grief,
Ball, a
she lived
telephone
it.
lineman, fell ill
At
with
just 3
typhoid
years
fever.
old, her father,
In the
Henry
final
Ball,
weeks of his
died
life,
from
he was
typhoid
climbing
fever.
poles in the snow,
She remembered
trying
only
to fix
fragments
tangled
of that
wires
day.
during
Her
a
mother's
storm.
crying, a picture
His health
frame falling
failed
off a wall
fast.
on its own,
On
and a small
February
bird
28,
trapped inside the
1915,
house.
he died,
The bird
just
became a
27
symbol
years
of dread
old.
in her mind,
Lucille's
an omen
memories
she
of that
never
day
forgot.
never left her.
For the rest
She
of her
remembered
life,
her mother
she
crying,
feared birds so
a
deeply
picture
that
falling
she
off the
refused
wall,
to stay in hotel
and a
rooms
small
with bird
bird trapped
wallpaper.
inside the house.
Her mother,
That
Dee,
image of the
was
bird
young,
terrified her
pregnant,
for the
and
rest of her
overwhelmed.
life. From
Lucy
that
was
moment,
sent to live with
she developed
relatives
a
while her
deep
mother
fear
tried
of
to
birds,
rebuild their lives.
not just the real ones,
That sense
but
of being
pictures or
displaced,
even
of never
patterns
fully
that resembled
belonging,
them.
followed her for years.
Friends later said she would refuse
Things
to stay in
became even
hotel
more
rooms
difficult
if there
when
was
her
bird
mother
wallpaper.
remarried a man named Ed
To
Peterson.
Lucy, that memory was
His
more than
parents were
superstition.
strict, cold, and
It
made
was
strange
grief she
rules,
could never
like
shake.
banning mirrors to prevent
Her
vanity.
mother, Dede, was young
In that
and
house,
overwhelmed,
Lucy learned her
pregnant
first
with
acting
Lucille's
lesson,
little brother,
hiding
Fred.
sadness behind a
To
smile.
survive, she sent
But
Lucille
nothing
to live
compared
with
to what happened
relatives
when she was
while
12.
she tried to rebuild their
Her
lives.
stepfather set up a target
Lucy
practice
grew
area
up feeling
in their backyard.
displaced, like a guest
One
in
afternoon,
her own family.
a stray bullet struck a
When her mother
young
remarried a
neighbor
man
boy and
named
left him
Ed
paralyzed.
Peterson, things didn't
The
get
family
easier.
sued, won,
His parents
and the
were
Balls
strict
lost
and cold.
everything, home,
banning
money,
mirrors in
and
the house so
security.
the children wouldn't
Her
grow
grandfather
vain.
never emotionally recovered.
Lucy would later say those
Lucy
years
would
taught
later
her
say
how to
that moment
act,
hardened her in a
how
way
to
nothing
pretend
else
everything
could.
was fine when it wasn't.
It taught her to survive loss,
Then came another
to push through
tragedy
shame,
that changed
and
everything.
to chase dreams no
When
matter
Lucy
how
was
impossible they
12,
seemed.
her stepfather set
Her
up a target
relentless
practice
rise.
area in the backyard.
In her 20s,
He was
Lucille
careful,
moved to
but
New
one
York
day,
to study acting.
an accident happened.
But she
A
was
young
told
neighbor
she had
boy
no
was
talent.
shot by mistake.
One
The bullet hit
instructor
his
even
spine
asked
and
her
left
mother
him
to stop
paralyzed.
wasting money
The
on her.
boy's family sued
Lucy wasn't
and won.
crushed.
The Balls
She
lost
was ignited.
everything, their home, their
She returned
furniture,
to New
even
York,
their
took
insurance.
small modeling jobs,
Lucy's
and then
grandfather,
headed to
consumed by
Hollywood.
guilt, never
In the
worked again.
1930s,
She said
became
later,
known as the
"One
Queen of
accident
B-movies,
destroyed
appearing
us.
in more than 75
The rise
films,
and the pain
but
behind
always
I
as
Love
the side
Lucy."
character, never the star.
By the time Lucille
Still,
Ball
she
reached her
learned
late
everything
20s,
she could:
she had
timing,
already faced
control,
more rejection
movement,
than
precision.
success. Her dream of
studied the
acting
camera
began
as
in
if
New
it were a
York,
living
but it
thing.
was crushed early
Then
when her
came the
teachers
moment
at the
that
John
changed her
Murray
entire
Anderson
life.
School for the Dramatic Arts
The love story
told
that
her
made
she had
history.
no talent.
In
One instructor
1940,
even sent
while
her
filming
home,
Too Many
telling her
Girls,
mother not
she
to
met
waste
Desi
money on
Arnaz.
lessons.
He
Years
was
later,
young.
Lucy would remember that
magnetic.
humiliation as the turning
was
point that made
unpredictable.
her tougher.
And he was impossible
All
for
I
her to
learned
resist.
there, she once said,
Within months,
was
they
how to be
eloped.
frightened.
Everyone said
But
the
she didn't
marriage
quit.
wouldn't survive a year.
She went back to New York in
Everyone was right
1928,
and wrong.
took modeling jobs to
The marriage
survive,
was
and
turbulent.
eventually moved west
Desi drank
to
heavily.
Hollywood.
He
In the
worked long
1930s,
nights.
she became known around
He had a
studios
wandering
as
eye.
the Queen of the
Lucy,
B-movies.
desperate for stability,
She appeared in
held
more
on
than
tightly.
75 films,
She didn't
usually
want to
as a
lose him.
chorus girl, a
More than
sidekick,
that,
or the woman
she
who
didn't
never
want
got
to
the
lose
spotlight.
the first place she had
Still,
ever felt truly
she never
loved.
stopped learning.
So when
Each set
CBS
taught her
asked her to
timing,
adapt her
posture,
radio
and
show
control.
for television,
The
she
camera
refused
loved
to do it
her
without
even
Desi
when the
playing
industry
her
didn't.
on-screen husband.
Then, in 1940,
Studio
her
executives
life
argued
changed
that
forever.
audiences wouldn't accept
During the
a
filming of Too
Cuban-American
Many
man
Girls,
married to a
she met a
white
young
woman on
Cuban
TV.
musician named Desi
Lucy
Arnaz.
refused to back down.
He was confident,
She
charming,
and Desi created a
unpredictable.
cross-country stage
They met
tour.
on set, danced
It was
together during
packed.
breaks, and within months
Audiences roared
eloped
with
in
laughter.
Connecticut. Everyone said it
Networks
wouldn't
couldn't
last,
deny what was in
and
front
in
of
many
them.
ways, they were right.
Thus, I Love Lucy was
Desi
born.
drank heavily,
It
stayed
became the
out
most
late,
watched series
and had
in
a
America.
wandering eye.
44
Lucy,
million
who had
people
spent her
sat
whole
down
life
every
craving
Monday to
stability,
watch Lucy
found
and Ricky
herself in
Ricardo.
chaos once again.
The show reshaped
But she loved
television
him
forever,
deeply and
introducing
believed
the
that if they
three-camera
worked
sitcom
together,
system still
maybe they
used
could
today.
save each other.
But behind
That
those
belief
perfect
gave
episodes
birth
was a
to I
marriage
Love
crumbling.
Lucy in
Desi's
1951.
drinking worsened.
When CBS offered
The
to
rumors of
adapt
infidelity
Lucy's
broke
radio
Lucy's
show
heart
My
again and
Favorite
again.
Husband into a TV
I
series,
cried more than I laughed,
she
she
insisted
later
that Desi
admitted.
play her on-screen
When the
husband.
show ended in
The
1957,
network resisted,
so did
claiming
their marriage.
audiences wouldn't accept an
In
interracial
1960,
couple.
she filed
Lucy
for
refused
divorce.
to compromise.
One day after they
To
filmed
prove them
their
wrong,
final
she
scene
and
together.
Desi created a live
Millions
vaudeville
mourned
tour.
a love story that
The chemistry
seemed too
between them
iconic
was
to end.
undeniable, and
But Lucy carried
CBS
the
finally
wound for the
gave
rest
in.
of her life.
The show became a
She
phenomenon.
later said,
Every Monday
Desi
night,
gave me
the
fire.
nation stopped to
I
watch
never
Lucy
had it
and Ricky
again.
Ricardo.
Scandals,
At its
losses,
peak,
and a slow
I Love
decline.
Lucy pulled in
Lucy
44 million
remarried in
viewers,
1961.
more people than watched the
Gary
president's
Morton
address.
was kind, loyal,
Lucy's
and protective.
comic genius, her
Their
willingness
marriage
to
brought
humiliate
stability,
herself
but not
for a
the passion
laugh,
she once knew.
and her perfect timing made her the
Meanwhile,
face of
her children
television
struggled.
comedy. But
Desi
behind the
Jr.
laughter,
battled addiction
her
and became
marriage
the subject
was
of
falling
cruel
apart.
media attention. His
Desi's
rumored paternity
infidelity
scandal
continued,
with Patty Duke
and
humiliated
Lucy's
Lucy
heart
deeply,
broke a little
even
more
though
with
years
each
later it
rumor
proved
she
false.
tried to ignore.
Then,
When the cameras
in
rolled,
1979,
they were America's
Lucy lost her
perfect
closest
couple.
friend,
When
Vivian
the lights
Vance,
went off,
her beloved
she
Ethel
cried
Mertz.
alone.
That
It
loss
wasn't
shattered
easy
her
being
in a way
married
she
to
rarely
Desi
spoke about.
Arnaz, she once said.
Part of me died
It
with
was
her,
always
she
the
whispered
same,
to Carol Burnett.
booze and broads.
The world saw the star.
Yet she stayed,
but
hoping
the
that
people who had
love
held her
could
heart were
survive
disappearing
fame.
one by one.
For a while,
The goodbye
it
that
did.
shook the world.
But when I Love
In late
Lucy ended in
1986,
1957,
Lucille Ball
the
received
cracks
the call
in their
she feared
marriage
most.
were too deep
Desi
to
was
hide.
dying of lung cancer.
The world had fallen in
Despite
love with
everything,
Lucy and Ricky,
betrayal,
but the
divorce,
real Lucille
decades
Ball
apart,
was
he had been
quietly
the great
falling
love of her
apart.
life.
The
She
Red
flew to Del
Scare
Mar to
and
see
public
him.
humiliation.
Their daughter later said it was the
In
most
the early
tender she had ever
1950s,
seen them.
America was
They
gripped
sat
by
together,
fear,
reminiscing,
the kind that could
forgiving,
destroy
holding on to
reputations
what
overnight.
little time remained.
It was the era of
On
Senator
November
Joseph
30th,
McCarthy
their
and the
wedding
Hollywood
anniversary,
blacklist,
Lucy called
when
him.
even the faintest link
She
to
could barely
communism
speak
could
through
end
the
a career.
tears.
For Lucille
love you,
Ball,
she
whose
said.
show was the most watched on
Again.
television, that
And
fear
again.
suddenly came
Desi's
crashing
voice
into
was
her
weak,
life in
but he answered.
1953. It
I
began
love
with a
you,
rumor.
too, honey.
Gossip columnist Walter
days
Winchell
later,
hinted
he was
on his
gone.
radio show that a famous
5 days
red-headed
after his
actress
death,
had once been a
Lucille attended the
communist.
Kennedy Center
He didn't say her
honors.
name, but
She had
everyone
wanted
knew
to
who he
cancel,
meant.
but her
The
children
next
insisted.
morning, newspapers across the
During
country
the
printed
ceremony,
headlines
Robert
in red
Stack
ink.
read a letter Desi
Lucille
had
Ball
written before he
named
died.
Red. In a
In
single
it,
day,
he
America's
credited
most
Lucy with the
beloved
success of
comedian
their
had become a
iconic
national
show.
suspect.
And he ended
The
with
accusation
the words,
came from a
"I
decision
Love
Lucy had
Lucy"
made
was
nearly
never just
20
a
years
title.
earlier.
For the
Back
first
in
time in her public
1936,
life,
she had
Lucille Ball
registered
broke
to
down
vote
on
as a
national
member of the
television.
Communist Party.
The entire
Not out of
audience cried with her.
ideology, but out of
It was the
love for her
last great
grandfather,
tribute she would
a
receive in
man
her
with
lifetime.
strong socialist beliefs.
The final interview.
He wanted me to do it to
In
please him,
1989,
she later
Lucy
said.
appeared for her
So
final
I did.
television interview.
She never attended
The fiery
meetings,
redhead had
never
grown
discussed
thinner,
politics,
quieter.
and quickly forgot
Her
about
voice
it.
carried the weight
But
of someone
now,
who had
in
lived
the
100
hysteria
lives
of
in
the
one
Cold
lifetime.
War, that
The
long-forgotten
interviewer
choice
asked,
threatened everything
"What
she
do you
had
hope
built.
people remember about
For
you?"
Lucy, the
She
timing
paused,
couldn't have been
looked down,
worse.
then answered
I Love
softly,
Lucy was in the middle of filming
"That
a
I
new
made people
season,
happy.
and sponsors like Philip
That's all
Morris
I
were
ever wanted."
terrified. Millions
That
of dollars
simple
were at
truth held
stake.
everything she
If
had carried
audiences
inside,
turned on
the
her,
childhood
the
pain,
empire
the
she
broken
and
marriage,
Desi had
the
built,
triumphs, the
Desilu
loneliness,
Studios,
the laughter
could
that had
collapse
saved her life
overnight.
again and again.
Lucille decided to face
Months
it head
later,
on.
she suffered a
She
heart
voluntarily met with
Her
investigators
heart
from the
held
House
on for a
Un-American
while,
Activities
then finally
Committee,
let go on
known
April
for its
26,
brutal interrogations of
1989.
actors,
She was
writers,
77.
and directors.
Her legacy.
Calmly, she explained everything.
Lucille Ball didn't
That she
just
had
entertain
registered
the world.
only to make her grandfather
She
happy,
transformed it.
that she never voted as
She
a
made women
communist,
central to
and
comedy.
that she had nothing to hide.
She reshaped television
I
technology.
have never been a communist,
She proved love
declared.
could survive
I
divorce.
have never been involved in anything
And in the
subversive
end,
in
she
my
showed
life.
that even legends
While the
feel
public waited for
loneliness.
her downfall,
But perhaps
Desi
the
took
most
action.
important truth is
He
this.
invited reporters to their home
world may
and
not
spoke
have given her
directly to the
everything she
audience
deserved.
before the live taping of a
But it
new I
remembers
Love
her.
Lucy episode.
It still lasts
Standing
because
center
of her.
stage, he said,
And it
"The
still
only
loves
thing
Lucy.
red about Lucy is her hair."